Welcome to the Chillness Room. This is Kyra, and this is episode 20. Can you believe we've done 20 episodes? That's so exciting to me. I can't believe it. I can't believe I stuck with something. I do my best to not stick with things for too long before I'm like, yeah, that feels done. There are a few things that I've stuck with. I love to paint. That's been something since I was a child that I love, and I love to write. And those are things that are really helpful for me. They help me to process information, process what's going on inside of me and my mind and my being. And also movement. I loved to dance as a child, and I loved Qigong when I started to learn that there's something that moves through us, this cultivation of energy. And I was like, I don't understand what you mean by that. Like, I remember 20 years ago when I was like, wait, what? I'm not just being kind of pushed around on this blue marble. Like, I have some control over how I feel. What's going on? Actually, come to think of it, it's been more like 23 or 4 years actually, because I'm getting older. Who knew? I was like, no, no, we just stop at a certain time. I remember my grandfather, he was so cute. We had our birthdays that were really close together. He was on the 17th, I was on the 18th, so we always celebrated our birthdays together. And my grandmother and my cousin, they had their birthdays close together, so they would celebrate their birthdays together. And but anyway, I've already oh yeah, he was 34, right? And he just stayed 34 like his whole life. He just hit, he's 80 years old, and he's like, yeah, I'm just turning 34 again. I always found that to be really cute. And but yeah, so yeah, 24 years or so that I learned about this whole energy thing. But I had learned a little bit about it before, when I was a teenager, and I read the books you weren't supposed to read about, like witchcraft and stuff like that. My girlfriend was always giving me something funny to read, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And I was like, ooh, candles, candle magic. But really it was just meditation, where you look at a candle and you stare at its flame, and then you would close your eyes and then try to keep that flame light in your vision, so that you would see just kind of like the brightness of the light. So you'd stare at the candlelight for 30 seconds or something, close your eyes, and then try to keep the light from moving. You get what I mean. If you go ahead and try it, you'll see. But you get the try to keep it in one place, and this keeps your eyes from darting around. If you close your eyes right now, your eyes are going to start moving. So, but if you try to keep it still, then that was one way to kind of focus on a point and to meditate. And then you breathe, and then you try to not move that light around in your vision. As soon as the light kind of faded, open your eyes again, look at the candle for 30 more seconds, and do it again. And so it was kind of a way, we call it an analytical vehicle, but kind of a way for the conscious mind to be focused on something so that the subconscious mind could kind of relax and to unwind and to rest for a moment. And when I was practicing clinical hypnosis, we would do that a lot, where we would have someone kind of focus on something while in the background I would be giving some positive suggestions to the subconscious mind to act on later. I know that makes maybe little to no sense, but essentially it's kind of like if you're driving your car and you're focused on the road, well, you're subconsciously picking up on all the other things around you. So you're subconsciously picking up on a sign that says, I'm thinking Arby's, or, something else, some other kind of sort of thing. And then suddenly you're like, why do I really crave a roast beef sandwich right now? you know? And so and that's, we get this road hypnosis And so we kind of get battered around by whatever kind of information is in our subconscious awareness. So anyway, we're focused on this candle flame, and that helps us to release some of the clutter and the junk in our subconscious mind. I recommend you try it. I think it's a really good exercise. So that's one of the kind of first things I ever did when I was a kid, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then the expansion and the contraction of a candle flame. This is when it's kind of really like, woo, kind of fun. Um, is when you can play with it. And I mean, I understand now as an adult, it's kind of confirmation bias. You can look at a candle flame and say, okay, I want to make it bigger. And then it suddenly gets bigger. Or I want it to be smaller and it gets smaller. I want it to wiggle and it wiggles, and so some of it is kind of interesting. Are we really expanding our awareness and affecting the physical world? Or did the wind blow? And we're calling it something we did. It doesn't matter. It's fun. It's delightful. It's wonderful. And I love that we can let ourselves be creative and imaginative in that way. So as we're kind of, rounding out this 20th episode with a bunch of stuff that I'm saying at you, I guess my point is that, well, I don't have a point in that, and I think that that's the point in the chillness room, is that there is no point. Maybe it's that, when we learn things about energy and things like that, it's more about how we direct our attention and our flow and possibility and understanding ourselves at deeper levels and connecting the dots for ourselves. So when I started learning about energy, that there was something that I could connect to that made me feel better through either movement or through Reiki. I know that that's gotten a little bit more mainstream over the years as being kind of hokey. Um, Unless you actually get a Reiki session and you stay like completely open to it, whether it's a placebo effect or whatever. But I'm going to tell you what, a tremendous amount of oxytocin gets poured through the body when somebody touches you in a loving way that doesn't want anything from you, that doesn't want to harm you, whose only intent is to be kind to you. That is nurturing. That feels safe and gentle and loving. And we don't have to perform or act a certain way or show up somehow or have a mask on or an aspect, coming forward that says, I've got to pretend something here. But instead, it's just a moment of peace and you just get blissed out. And that happens sometimes with massage as well. But usually, I can tell the difference whether somebody has had some Reiki training during their massage stuff or if they haven't. It's actually very, I don't know, I'm just sensitive to it now. It's very, very clear. So I guess the other thing that I'm saying here is that what I loved about Reiki is that I didn't need anybody else to do it for me, that I could do it for myself. All I had to do is essentially connect with a healing thought, a positive intention, a loving moment, or even a memory of someone helping me in a loving way if they did Reiki for me. And the other thing about it was that you didn't have to think about where it was going or what it was doing or how it was doing it or any of that stuff. It was just being attuned, being aligned, and allowing the flow to move through. Simple. And I really like simple. Simple is good now. And so generally, if I'm just kind of around anywhere, I might be doing Reiki on myself at any given moment. I might be doing Reiki um, on my husband. I know it sounds weird doing Reiki on my husband. Like every once in a while, I'll just feel very, um, it feels very connecting and nurturing just to put a hand on him and to set that intention that I'm sending loving energy his way. Very simple. So when I first learned that I could do all of this stuff for myself, that was very liberating. But I will say it is very, very nice, very nice to kind of just relax into allowing someone else to be gentle and kind to me and to just receive, which can be very difficult sometimes. So, if I were in your position and I was wanting to feel more loving moments of connection with myself, and I had never studied Reiki before, but I happened to be listening to this podcast, I would first start with just a regular, intentional hand placements. That would be it. I would do like a hand on my tummy, a hand on my heart. And I would just be like, okay, I'm sending loving connection. Just an internal smile. I would imagine myself smiling to all of my internal organs. I would smile at my feet and my ankles and my knees and my legs. I would do an internal smile to my reproductive organs, to my stomach, intestine, small intestine, my heart, my lungs, my my throat, my neck, everywhere, anywhere in my body, my liver, my pancreas, gallbladder, everywhere, my spleen, just anywhere I can think of to just give a moment of gentleness to those areas with an intentional nod or an intentional smile to those areas that have given me so much connection. And then what I would do is I would give my brain also a kind of nod or connection as well, with just the connection around making sure that I feel more balanced overall, and that my brain is working perfectly and functioning properly. And then I might think and give a smile and nod to my nervous system. I would give a nod and smile to my hormonal systems. I would give a little loving moment to my kidneys and my adrenal glands. I would give a little bit of a hey, love you, you're doing great to my hands and my wrists, you know. And so those kinds of things are things that I would do if I didn't know anything at all about Reiki or tapping into universal life force energy or any of that kind of stuff. Because you don't have to. You don't have to. It was created by Dr. Yusui. It was something that came in a very long time ago. It's not ancient, but it was something that he learned and studied that came to him during a fast meditation. So if it can come to him, it can come to you, right? So you don't have to do anything special. Although I highly recommend it if you have a really good, trusted person, you like their reviews and all their stuff that are people who practice Reiki and who do give attunements and all that. I say that is a very powerful experience. It can be a very powerful experience. And I've taught it for years and years. I don't now, but I've taught it for years and years. And it was such a beautiful practice. So, but you don't have to have it. You don't have to do it like that. Taking the time out for your day, taking the time out to allow yourself the opportunity to feel at ease and peace, to feel grace, to feel calm, to feel gentleness, and to be gentle with yourself is all that really matters. Thank you so much for joining me for the Chillness Room. I think I'm going to go and lay down and give myself a little bit of a Reiki treatment, or just an internal, hey, guys, everything is good. You're good. You're lovable. Everything is going right. All right. Take care. Have a great day.